Today we're joined by Maria Semple, a Venezuelan-born coach who's been calling Australia home since 1989. Her journey, marked by migration, reinvention, and resilience, led her to create Reclaim Your Vision, Rewrite Your Story, a coaching approach that helps women reconnect with their purpose while navigating full-time careers. With a background shaped by both professional transformation and professional experience across sectors, Maria brings a grounded, heart-led perspective on identity, growth, and what it really means to reclaim your voice in a fast-paced world. Welcome, Maria.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with your audience.
Thank you for accepting the invitation and also for trusting the process without a script, without questions that were prefabricated. This is just an encounter of two souls that want to be curious about each other and want to motivate others to navigate the workplace and the workforce in Australia in a more flowing and peaceful way.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. Sometimes I do a similar space called Remarkable Conversations with other women, and not only Latin women, but women from different parts of the world. And sometimes I find that it's easier for them to know, and also in a conversation, it's so easy to go traverse in different areas or different subjects. So sometimes it's easier to send in a question. However, I agree. This is two souls meeting together and exploring our world and the way that we also see the world.
And also my approach to the conversation goes like this, because I think as migrants, we need to be ready for the unexpected. And I wanted to ask about your experience with the unexpected and how did Australia shape your resilience around how to be more prepared for when something goes wrong or when we want things to happen in a certain time, but it doesn't happen always like we want.
Yes, thank you. That is, I think, one thing for sure in life, in this three-dimensional world that we live and in this body that we have as a physical form, one thing for sure is nothing goes according to plan. And so, therefore, many religious practices also tells us and show us to be friends with the temporary, with the the things that are completely transforming all the time. So I think as a woman, I had many dreams, and I was born in Venezuela. I had so all the dreams and hopes of many women, and one thing for sure is that I wanted to be a mom, and I became a mom of two beautiful sons, and that was really wonderful. And so I migrated to Australia in 1989 permanently. So I came for the first time 38 years ago in 1987. But it took 2 years for all the legal migration. And also I was bringing two children from a previous marriage. And so the first encounter with transformation was that process of migration and arriving here, even though I was so in love and I had met my family-in-law before. I found out there was a lot of things to realize, and one of them, for example, was when my eldest boy got chicken pox. And my mother-in-law told me, don't bring him here. And be careful because my son never had chicken pox. And I thought like, oh my God, no. So that was a little bit of a wake-up call. And so then a few years later, my marriage ended, and there was another transformation and another realization of the impermanence and that life changes all the time. And therefore, I had a very sudden reinvention that I didn't plan because I was reflecting at the time in my solitude of a broken marriage and doing ceramics. And all of a sudden, I put myself out there, and the ceramics turned into a very prosperous business. I employed at the time 5 women that helped me in various stages of this business. And also my boys were helping me at the time. And so I was very I can say the word lucky. However, we all create our own luck by the actions that we take. And I invested in advertising and in going to exhibitions. And all the time, it was hard work. I sold all around Australia. I was featured in television programs, in magazines. I sold internationally, and it was a total success. However, in a few years later, I realized that it was very wear and tear on my body, and I could not handle the working with cold clay. And so I made a decision to close the business. And therefore, there was another reinvention to go and to the workforce and a workforce that I actually didn't really know much about it. And so at the time, I joined as a contractor, and so that was through recruitment agencies that they sent you here. You have a temporary assignment of 6 months or whatever. And I tried to apply for many, many jobs. And remember, I was married to an English man, so I spoke English at home full time. And my children also, after 6 months of arriving, they spoke English fluently. And so I chose that to speak because at first I couldn't cope with a bilingual world. And I found that it was exhausting for me, quite mentally. And also because I wanted to work professionally as well, and I wanted to speak English quite fluently and be able to have Australian friends or English speaking friends. That was my choice at the time as well. However, we are Latinas, and we have that rhythm and the color and the flair for beauty and makeup or hair, or that is innate in us, in many of us. So I think that world of contract, I decided to go and work for government here in Victoria, in Melbourne. And I worked for state government. I work also for local government organizations. I work for semi-private organizations. And I learned a lot. So I learned that, number one, I think that consciously or unconsciously, I wanted perhaps to develop my own capabilities and my own opportunities. And therefore, the fallacy or the idea of a permanent job didn't fit me, didn't fit with me, because I don't believe in everything is permanent. And so, therefore, having contracts here and there, although is not an ideal situation for a person that is a single mom, but it brought a lot of resilience, looking out all the time for opportunities, and it also helped me to learn many, many skills. It also helped me to understand the importance of investing in yourself. So I understood the importance of investing in ourselves. And as a contractor, so you get paid for an hourly rate, you don't have sick leave, you don't have annual leave, so you have to go and put your buckets and organize your life. So I invested a lot in my education, and I think as Latinas we value the the education and from our parents and so on. And so I invested a lot, and so I study business, I study leadership. I went to study to be a coach 17 years ago, and I wanted to be and study from an organization that had a very good and high reputation here in Australia. And so I became a professional coach. However, I kept working alongside of my full-time job. So I work for a non-for-profit as well. And look at all of that, it sort of helped me to understand that the path is never linear. So there are many roads, as the expression says, many roads lead to Rome. And I felt that many roads lead to build a woman of this nature. And yeah, so I would say to end with that chapter that it was only 3 years ago after, so we have a very severe pandemic in Melbourne 5 years ago. And 2020 we were in lockdown, 2021. So there were some personal experiences that added to some stress and trauma. And then in 2022, when we were just coming out of that pandemic, I experienced the last cancellation of my contract. And this time I was, asking for time off. I have a granddaughter in Queensland, so I took some time to rent an apartment in Queensland and go and visit her in the Sunshine Coast and make times to go and check into a hotel and meet with my friends that lived next door to this beautiful hotel in Brisbane. While I was checking in this hotel in Brisbane, I get a phone call saying that my contract has been canceled, just like that. Out of the blue, when they had extended it till the end of the year. And so it just added what we call here in Australia insult to injury. And I felt totally devastated. And then I thought about all the knowledge that I have and the concept of insanity. And Einstein mentioned this in one of his quotes that insanity is the doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So when I came back to Melbourne, I thought I couldn't handle it anymore. So you can imagine that it will take a lot to keep a woman like me um, on the edge. And I felt like that. So I decided to buy a camper van and I transformed it in a few weeks. And I took a sabbatical. And so I went with no plans, no destination, and nothing at all. I I first stayed in Victoria and I traveled on the west coast of Victoria, which I haven't visited before. And then on the following year in 2023, so that happened between September, October 2022. And then by the end of October, I was out. And so I put everything in storage. I didn't, I was renting this cottage in one of the suburbs in Melbourne. And I decided to go and travel. And so I went to Queensland in 2023 and yeah, I just discovered places. I talked to people. I had no agenda, no expectations, nothing. I was just being present to the moment and opened to receive some sort of message. And I will share with you and your audience that the message that I got was that I felt that the night sky, when you're parked somewhere and you're there vulnerable. I have a dog, so he was my companion all throughout all this journey. I felt that the night sky was offering me a challenge, and it was to when are you going to step up and do more of what you love? And because so I wanted always to run my own gig, my own business, my own coaching practice, I decided that that was the time. And so I started to be deliberate and putting all together all this knowledge and research that I have done for so many years uh, of bringing concepts from uh, the business studies or the leadership studies, the NLP studies, the coaching studies, the hypnosis studies, and so on and so on. And so I put together the program that you mentioned at the beginning. So it's called Reclaim Your Vision, Rewrite Your Story. It's just a simple way to describe. We can lose at any stage of our life. We can lose the vision of who we want to be or we want it to be. Could be migration, could be motherhood, could be separation, a divorce, or a death. And so the steps helps you to ground yourself, overcome beliefs that you may have, limiting beliefs, which I identify it was the case with me at the time. We have what we call the rear view mirror. We're looking through, the lens of the past while we move forward. And then we had to establish a compass, and the compass is your values. And then we bring this narrative that it doesn't really fit the new life that you want to create. But oh no, my parents or my boyfriend or my husband or my children or my job. So what is the narrative that you want to reflect? What is the story? And then from there we go to have what we call an arc. An arc is not really to establish goals as such, like SMART goals, but is it goals or points? I call it an arc. Is an arc, is a vessel where we establish our intentions. And those intentions also, if the person wants to create a new career or a new higher employment opportunity or whatever redirection, then there are elements that we need to learn. What do I need to learn in order to get there? And what do I need to create? Who do I need to talk to? And what is my intention? But also, what legacy would I be able to create or leave as I create this container? And that's been very important for me because I am driven by purpose. And I think it's one of the most valuable things that, regardless of financial benefits, uh, leaving something that you will be remembered for and creating something stronger is incredibly important. And so that's how my program came together. So I still travel in my camper van. I'm right now in Melbourne, but I've been designing my life with this excitement that I will be able to maybe travel to Queensland and then meet in-person women like you, or create an event in community centers. They don't have access to high quality programs. And what if I could offer, you know, women or people in those community centers some of these concepts? And that will be amazing. And that is the life that I am been creating. And I decided to work with Latinas. Well, first of all, I am a Latina, even though I would say that I've been here for 38 years. Possibly I've been here much longer than I ever lived in my country of birth. But I think there is a need for community in Latinas. And I have identified that there are programs. You have a program in Queensland. There is a beautiful program here in Melbourne that is extending as well. Uh, but I think it will be great to create something that it brings our sisters, these beautiful, capable, and intelligent women from all over the place. And so I also feel that the model that serves me is an online model, and that is what I've been creating.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for sharing your story. I am sure that the people who are listening to you feel inspired by you, by your approach to life, and by how you let life transform yourself throughout all these different stages, making decisions for yourself, putting yourself first, which sometimes is challenging for women, and listening to your own body, your own needs, and your values to create this life that you're living now. And I love that you are a dreamer and you keep envisioning yourself doing bigger and bigger things. So I feel like we are alike in that sense. I also wanted to dig a bit deeper, if you allow me, into those limiting beliefs, because I think that we also share those limiting beliefs with the people in my community, with other people I have met from other cultures. And I think something activates for us as migrants when we become the minority in a new country. So I wanted to ask, how did you navigate those cultural differences? What barriers did you encounter? And what new beliefs allowed you to overcome those barriers?
Yes, thank you. To be honest, I never really felt that there were differences in culture. And I will say this. Number one, when I arrived, I was married, so he had a very good job. And number two, so I didn't have the immediate financial pressures that many migrants that come either alone in visas, student visas situations, or those ones that come as a family group trying to reinvent themselves from zero. So I didn't have those pressures. Number two, we possibly arrived at the most multicultural suburb in Melbourne called Dandenong. And I felt that I fitted because I came from a middle class family in Venezuela. So I think my view of being educated, but I wasn't worldly traveled at the time at 27. I had travel, but more limited. And so I felt quite at ease when my boys went to school. The Lebanese woman, the African lady, the Italian neighbors, the 80-year-old neighbor at the front of the unit where we lived. The market was the best school for multiculturalism for me. And I didn't see those differences. I just I know I navigated the same issues with finding work that suited me, but I didn't have those pressures in the beginning because my husband at the time said to me this, darling, if you work, I will pay more tax. What a ridiculous thing. And I thought, so I didn't have pressures to work. And so I also, with the issues of my boys were 4 and 7 when they came to Australia. And so there wouldn't be a need to find after school care. And so I tried a few jobs and I had the same struggles that many women had. And so I think, first of all, that I have very high standards. It helped me to keep going. And I kept just living life in the now and being Maria. At one time when one stage I was starting to have issues in my marriage, I went to a school counselor, I think, in the children's school, and I want to share this. And and the woman said this to me, look at you. I was dressed in a beautiful linen blouse with beautiful linen pants. I had bubbly hair. I need to show you that photo of me at 20 something. Uh, you know, Full hair. Uh, she said to me that, she said, look at you, you're so precise. You're so tidy. So, but I never really saw that as a criticism of me. I saw it as as a plus. And therefore, I always was Maria, the bubbly woman, friendly at work, the one that wanted to bring a cake on Mondays to share, the one that didn't care if I didn't speak English perfectly, the one that made mistakes because I didn't read the signs. And yeah, so that's possibly what I just wanted to be myself and fit in, of course, but I wasn't willing to change myself.
What I hear is a journey of full acceptance of who you are and giving the gift to others of who you are, despite all the musts and shoulds that society sometimes brings upon us. And also, I wanted to ask, as a woman in the workforce, have you ever felt any differences in like leadership styles for men who worked with you? Have you ever felt any inequalities regarding being a female in the workplace?
Well, I those things are real. Inequality, even though in Australia will preach that they try hard, believe me. And I worked in many, many places. I once again, I have experienced challenges, but because, I mostly worked in government departments, so they are very careful of those things considered as inequalities. And there are cultural issues everywhere. Across government is a machine that is larger than life in all the states because they all have different rules and so on. However, I would say something. I found that again, being myself, being able to build trust and rapport and ask questions and show interest, I was able to gain the trust of all, most, if not all, my bosses or supervisors. To this day, I have a list of numbers of these people that were my bosses in the past that I can call upon, that I can see, share something or ask a questions. And so I didn't feel the inequality because there was one thing clear. I knew what I was meant to do in that job, in that position. And I didn't have any aspirations to be my boss's boss. Or, I was very clear. I'm here to deliver this. I applied my own uniqueness in many cases. I even created opportunities. And I will give you an example. So I work with scientists, and I knew that they struggle for certain things to keep them together, but also the information in some documents that they manage in terms of the issues that they had been working with. So they worked in plant health, so I offer solutions. And that wasn't in my position description. My position description was to organize the life and the calendar of this person. But I went the extra mile. And so that also helped, right? And I was very clear that my job was temporary, that I would like to work there, maybe if there was an opportunity offered. And therefore, I think that gave me some freedom. It gave me, the alertness that, oh my God, the contract's finishing in 2 months and I have to ask, are they going to renew it or not? But because I didn't want to stay there permanently and escalate the corporate ladder, and I, yeah, that was my experience. There were places where I experienced conflict, and it was shocking. It was shocking. There was in this place, and it wasn't a contract through a recruitment agency. It was I had applied for a fixed term directly with a government department. I went home for a week sick with a conflict with a woman. It wasn't handled well. And it was someone that had no awareness. I think she had some attention deficit kind of issues. She had no awareness, Solange. She came so close to me to ask me for things. Can you do this for me? And I couldn't tolerate it. I just couldn't. And so there were, I think at the time I was more immature, possibly impatient. I had I had a strong level of straightforwardness that I could be so direct that someone can feel a little bit bulldozed. And so on those things you learn through developing your own emotional intelligence. And that is what I do now as well as part of my work in helping others.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us the importance of creating those meaningful relationships from a place of authenticity and curiosity. And those relationships are the ones that last over time. And you create your own support network in a new country. So one thing that I take from your story is never give up, always try to find another way to do things and go the extra mile, because sometimes we feel like we are hard workers. We want everything to be done with excellence. And sometimes in this culture, there are people who are not like that, who they prefer and value their own life quality and spare time and free time. And sometimes people feel a bit tired of trying to go the extra mile and not seeing any results. But I think it goes beyond the results. It goes to, for you to know who you truly are, the way you do things is unique. And if you can be yourself in the workplace, you will be valued and appreciated for sure. So I want to close first expressing my gratitude for you to share your story, be in this space. And I would like to give you the opportunity to leave one last message to our audience. I want to say that I feel inspired by you, and I will definitely keep in touch with you and wish you all the best with your coaching program. I'm sure that many people will get in touch with you after this interview. So I will leave Maria's details so you can get in touch with her.
Thank you, Solange. I appreciate. And the last message is that, well, I think identifying your strength is important. Identifying what you're not good at will also might be important. But identifying what you value in life is supremely important because that is what will help you wake up every morning when things don't go the way you wanted it to be. And for me, I identify that courage and determination were had been two of my core values. And even though the road has been challenging in many cases, I still find it incredibly enlightening and fascinating to connect on a soul level as well with many women and to do what I do. So I recommend that you all take a moment to identify your deeper values and live as if they are your compass in life, your GPS. And thank you for the space that you also have created in your community and the work that you do. Thank you so much, Solange.
Thank you. And I agree that living a life aligned with your values and being coherent with your actions and the way you communicate and show the world who you are is one of my priorities. So I definitely appreciate that last piece of advice you gave us today. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you.